Okay, I'm here to present my budget. Overall, I got a $8,200 increase. The bulk of it is in salaries. Start up top there, it's about a $6,800 difference. I cut my budget last year and I cut it too much. I'm afraid I'm going to even go over for this year. Right now I'm at 42% on the budget, and we don't even have June done yet. So if you look at my 2011 salaries, I was already over what I budgeted for 2012. So by the time I figured the increase, the 2% increase, and then I figured another 3% increase, it was around $6,800. So I'm kind of playing catch up now since I cut my budget so much last year. Everything else I pretty much kept the same, maybe raised it $100. I get down to repairs and maintenance office equipment. I'm looking at microfilming my ledgers and my tax rolls, and they sent me a quote for about $500. But the offset of that is paper that we usually print on, and that comes out of courthouse general. So it's kind of being just reflected in my budget instead of the courthouse general budget. So it's just kind of moving it from one place to another there. And then I'm not sure how much storage would be on microfilm. I don't think it would be that much, but I just wanted to allow plenty of room, so I raised that $400. I don't think it would be that much, but everything else, office equipment, I lowered it $100. Computer equipment, I raised it $25. And then on the second page, I wanted to show you, that's our journal entry transfer. Whatever is left in my motor vehicle operating budget, I transfer to county general. And so this year I transferred $31,677 to county general. That was left over out of my motor vehicle money. So I just wanted to show you that.
Are you collecting quite a bit more since you did the trucks and stuff now?
Yeah, as of last year, we collected, the end of December, $6,500. And I looked the other day, so far this year we've collected $6,500. So we've already collected up to June what we collected for the full year last year. It's really picking up. It's quite a lot more workload. I still kind of on the fence about it. Sometimes it's too much. It's where we run into problems. I cut it off at 3 o'clock, but people come in at 3:15 and they'll have 5 or 7 titles. And we were here till 6 o'clock the other night. And I can't do that and have overtime. I gotta be able to stick to my budget. But you hate to, when you offer a service, you hate to tell people when they come in, no, we're not going to be able to take care of you. So that's what I'm trying to decide, how's the best way to handle it. Because you don't want to turn people away. But
Can you post something up there saying this number, limit to this number
and maybe
this day or
that's part
something
of,
like?
we need to be more proactive
And,
when people come in, assess their
But they've got to say,
paperwork
well,
they have first.
you can do this much today, but can't do it all today.
But some of these people drive 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I know if it was me,
Yeah.
but we need to educate our people. You know, next time when you come, be sure not to come by 12 o'clock. Because if you're setting up a new account, you have several titles, it'll take a couple hours to wait on a person. But once you have them set up, just renewal stuff, that goes pretty fast.
Just initial stuff.
The initial stuff is what's pretty time consuming. So, So, yeah, I still, sometimes I think, oh, it's too much, and then sometimes they are so appreciative of the service we offer. I
Well,
mean,
that go clear to Topeka and get the work done, so it'd be a lot nicer.
Yeah.
That line, probably a line up there too, if I
Yeah.
drive it. Probably takes them a day to get them turned back.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
And sometimes when they get to Topeka, they can't even get it done, what they want to get done. They gotta come back the next day to Topeka, and that, so they are real appreciative. But, so we're still working kinks out like that to see how it goes.
And Lisa, you said, help me out here, you said in 2012, you lowered your budget, and why is it on the bottom when you told?
I lowered my budget from 2011 ag budget. Those were my actual expenses. That wasn't my actual budget.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the first column is what was actually spent.
Actually, big
Yeah.
man.
Her budget for 11 was a little more than that. But she
Yeah, I know I
lowered
may
her
have
12
said that
budget
wrong.
to this.
Mhm.
She lowered it to 2%, didn't you go to? 2% from what she had budgeted in 11.
So you didn't use all of 11?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, where in this budget does it show the outsourcing of
The microfilm?
the outsourcing of the tax rolls? Or you were gonna hire that done?
They're in line item 4363 and 4365. The 4363 is what I am figuring for to make the microfilm. 4365, I just raised my budget 400. I don't know what it's going to cost to store the microfilm in the salt mines.
That's not what I'm talking about. You were in here and you were buying the
Pre-sort.
pre-source.
Oh, that comes out of courthouse general. And that's something, yeah, I guess, do you want that reflected in my budget, or do we want to keep it out of courthouse general? Because that's how it's always came.
I don't know, I just wanted
Yeah.
to understand where the
Yeah,
money's going.
it's not in here.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not in here, because when I purchased tax statements before and envelopes, that always came out of courthouse general.
I see.
But it's always, yeah, how do you want to see it? Do you want to see it in my budget? I can see, or Nita accommodates for
It's
it.
all, it's the way we always.
So the copiers and the printers and all that come out of courthouse general?
No,
No.
her copier comes out of her budget.
Well, you guys told me last year you would take it out of courthouse general this year. When I talked to you about buying it, because I asked you last year, do you want me to show it in my budget and raise my budget? You said no, just, but usually, yes, we budget for our copy machine.
All right, then on computer equipment, then computers and everything in your office as well as other offices come out of courthouse general?
I always budget for computers in my office.
Okay.
Now,
So,
hers, aren't most of yours state-owned now?
Right now they are, and that's why I kept
So,
it pretty
yeah.
low.
okay.
In case one blows up. I have all new computers, but if one would blow up, I would have to buy one. So that's why I kept that pretty low.
So all the computers in your office are state-owned?
We got them
Okay.
free from the state.
But
so
if
I-
one blows up, the state's not gonna replace it, we'll have to replace it.
It would be better, yeah, to buy. What they would give me would be refurbished and broken down, and so at that point, it's better to go ahead and replace your own, because they wouldn't replace with a new one. And they gave us new scanners also and new printers, so. Any other questions? If you'd like to see the postal pre-sort line item, if you want me to reflect that in my budget, I can. Or do you want me to keep doing it the way we've been doing it?
I'm not, that's not what I'm suggesting, I just wanted to understand what was going
Sure.
on.
understand. But we've always wondered, well, how should we show it, in here or in here, so,
Ask me.
okay. All right. Is that it?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There he is. Good man.
Uh-oh, what'd you do, Becky?
Huh?
She twisted you awfully hard, huh?
Yes, it did. Highway jack. Highway jack. Hand come up. I had a one-ton truck on a trailer and a wood tire. My brother and I was changing, it was coming down with it, or coming down with the weight of the jack, it started to shift. My hit the first steady on the top of the jack, and it flipped him, the handle come up, smacked my knee.
The jack was stronger than you.
Yeah. Quicker to do that. Come up like a bull. Yeah. Got some bad news.
Well, great.
Do I ever bring good?
I hope you do.
As you can see, Reno County had went up $3 a ton, or they're going to keep going up.
We used to have a deal that explain why and everything. We haven't had any meetings about it for a long time.
I was glad I called them last week, because,
Really? You used to have quarterly go down there and then go over the.
well, what they've done, I mean, they hadn't sent out anything, they said they were just getting ready to call it, but, they have to put in a methane gas plant to harvest or get the methane gas out of themselves.
Out the old cells probably.
Yeah.
And that's what we're not supposed to be paying for.
Yeah, but it says they're looking at $3 million to get started.
But out of their old cells before we got into it, we had an agreement we signed that we weren't responsible for any, you know, it started the day one, we're off of our cells over here, but not with the old ones. And the old ones seemed like one just having their problems with it, I thought.
At Reno County, their own cells. I mean, it takes,
So I don't think we should be paying for methane out of their old cells.
yeah, but,
Is there any way we can find out if that's what the situation is?
yeah.
Because
Find out what it is, yeah. 'Cause
JD
that-
says we have an agreement with maybe.
Back when you started all this, and then we were gonna take over their liability, but they already had their liability going, so we had an agreement that worked out that says anything back when on their stuff is their stuff, and anything forward would be our stuff, we share with themselves.
Then I will check in and I'll talk to Steve, I'll call over and talk to Steve again. And then I'll get back with you what I find out on that. Then I have a $5,000 cost for, it's the time for the 5-year update with Santa Fe, Solid Waste Authority. And I also had an increase on my fuel. I increased it 500 because I have been using more fuel because of the way I'm working the pit. What I'm doing is the state allowed me to, dig out some of the sidewall and replace that two-one slope. But they don't want a very large area at a time taken out, so I take about 4 loader buckets with out. But about every 2 loads, I go down. I go down and work, mash it up, compact it in the wall. If you don't, I mean, when you're dumping in a small area, it's pretty much a daily thing to go down there. Otherwise, they just start dumping out in front of one another, and where you drive becomes a mess. I have been using the loader quite a bit more, but yet, here we are. That it's still like having a new pit. I mean, there's nothing on the floor of it. I'm still on the one
Who's
wall.
that, yeah?
Which I have a small lake down there right now. Out here, I need to go
You
get
got
the
the
pump
water
started.
as well, yeah?
Yeah, I'm gonna make the pump started here after I get down here. On this new hire situation, if I didn't need a guy, I sure wouldn't ask for him. But I did have sit down with Philip. If that's something you guys will agree on, is bringing a guy over. He has no problem with that. He said everything's fine with him. He don't have a problem with that. The only thing is starting with a new hire, you got to get the CDL out of the way, and you got to have them HHW trained, and But I mean, either way we go, I mean, that's the way it goes.
So are you saying that Phil won't replace this individual, then just bring one over here and leave him one?
No, he
less?
said he would replace him. But he said he don't have a problem with transferring him over. I mean, he don't mind that. He said he wouldn't have a problem with that, and him driving the truck, you know, whenever, he said he would want me, you know, to first couple trips, go with the guy that's been there in the road department. You know, I mean, he wouldn't, you know, his sole job wouldn't be just sort of plastic. You know, he'd be doing what I'm doing, so I could, or either one of us could be doing some preventive maintenance and like in recycle trailer, like I said, I had time yet, I need to bring them in one at a time, completely empty them out, get all the bins off. And, I mean, there's a lot of dust and dirt that blows up on rusted glass and stuff that's settling down in there where the bins sit. I mean, if you don't get that cleaned out, you know, rusting your bottoms out. You know, how expensive those things are, just gonna make them last long also.
So the 25,000 is with that Terracon 5-year plan,
Yeah.
and that's our share.
Yes. Our share is the five of the,
Is 5 of
yeah. It's a $25,000 deal split between 5 counties.
Pretty well covers it.
You don't see anything you're gonna have to repair up there next year, you got your loader, you got a different loader out there now, than the one you're using,
Yeah.
yeah. It's pretty
Well, I
good
mean,
shape.
I've got, mechanical wise, yeah, I mean, you know, just like, last year, or 2011, you know, last year we had a mishap with that, the power steering, the pump that drives the steering, that thing went bad. I mean, you know, that was unexpected, didn't know.
Yeah.
That was very costly, that was an $8,000 repair, which, I mean, I didn't like the, you know, that, there was a lot of troubleshooting time in there, and I did get out of some of that, you know, and, I mean, they gave us $600, it's better than nothing, but, you know, that was unexpected. Just, you know, on repairs and stuff, I mean, it's hard to count for
Yes,
something
that's
like
gonna
that.
happen, yeah. Everything breaks down sometime.
I mean, I've got a few issues with it, you know, I need to get it in, do some repair. I mean, my ladder's getting up to it, you know, that these telephone poles flip up, hit and break it. I mean, it's nothing major, you know, fix it. All right. You know, like, you know, I put in the budget for the new hire, you know, if that's not doable, you know, it's like, anyway.
Better ways before we put everything together, we'll see what bottom line is probably.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
What was the problem with the ceiling?
Chairman.
Oh, I didn't
Hmm.
change that.
What's that?
What was the problem with the ceiling over there?
That's your leak.
Yes,
Right?
Jeez, you trying to tell me something or what?
There's a little drip.
Nobody's out there yet.
Let's deal with this. They're laughing at me. Are we both paranoid or what?
I know I am around here.
Well, you should be.
I know.
You got their feelings hurt.
This is his
This is annual stuff.
annual. So I'll make a motion, we increase Steve Moody from range 17, 53C to range 17, step 4D.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve Steve Moody's step increase. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And you know the annex roof is leaking.
That's what I was asking, Clay.
Clay is on the project. He will be taken care of.
Have we got?
I haven't heard back from the roofer guy.
They don't
I
have
haven't heard
signed.
from the contractor, the roofer is fine.
Didn't our year expire like last week or something?
But the roof, it has a different warranty, is what Vince told you.
It should have at least 5 years,
It's more, it's longer than that.
10-year one.
Yeah.
That's,
But Vince did send that Jim verbal email. Okay.
so the 5-year drought didn't work for him.
No.
It
And-
rained, darn it.
The hospital auditor will be at the hospital board meeting tonight at 6 to give the audit presentation. Maybe you would like to attend.
No.
Sheepack is going.
Really?
That's what he said Friday. So, and I told our auditors and they can't make it, so.
Tonight at 6.
Mm-hmm. And that's all I have.
Let's recess. Ready for you?
Okay. Well, we'd like $600,000.
Seriously?
So would I.
What do you mean, seriously?
Yeah.
I thought you were
Joke
kidding.
about
No,
money.
I thought you were kidding.
How do you
I
like?
need the thing, we'll put it in the folder. Nice coming in, Steve.
See you later.
See you later.
Just throw that. One for her.
I got one for her.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. If you start in the upper left-hand corner, you will notice that says 2010 actual expenses. And then we have 2012, or 11 actual, 2012 projected, and it's based on 4 months, so. And then 2013. The only difference between 12 and 13 is a 3% increase across the board, including salaries and benefits. We are still working on drugs and supply costs, and hopefully we can work them to not go up 3%, but, I mean, we're working on the group purchasing organization that we would begin to use should see a decrease in cost. But I don't know that for sure, because it depends on the kind of supplies that we order, and it depends on how busy we are, because the less you order, the more your price is. I mean, you guys understand, group purchasing organizations, yeah, volumes. So, underneath the grid, all that does is tie out to expenses to make sure that we were tying to the things that we needed. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, there's the revenues. I'm gonna have the word revenues, and next to that is the revenues currently, and the loss currently is right under that, the -70. And then that would be the next column over is the annualized, so for 4 months, if you project that out to a year, which is what it did. And then the next one is 3% up. So underneath that is the revenue less the tax money, so that's, and underneath that is the income and loss without the tax money. And then that particular income and loss includes the 3 things that are above there in
non-cash items, so we took that out, because obviously we don't need cash to pay for depreciation, that's strictly an income statement item. So it's 519,000 projected for this year and 621,000 projected for next year. Never rendered a room speechless.
Oh, no, it's speechless. The wheels are still turning.
Oh, okay.
Professional fees, that includes ER coverage, anything outside of the hospital itself.
Right. But,
But the majority is ER coverage.
majority is ER coverage. Yeah, legal and auditing is its own line. And gotta pay somebody to cover 24 hours a day. And that's what. There is some money that we'll get back on the cost report, for that, but it's built into the cost report calculations that we discussed already.
So your drugs and supplies are considerably down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of the new supplier.
And the volumes, we just aren't as busy, we don't need as many drugs. And the only caveat to this is 4 months, when you're talking about a 12-month period, 4 months is not a very big trend.
No.
And it's the first 4 months of the year. At PRMC, we have quarters that are horrible, and then we have a quarter that's super wonderful, fantastic. So by the end of the year, it all averages out. But if you're looking at just a quarter or just 4 months, it's a very difficult trend to try and determine from the year. So, I mean, we can only go by the information that we have. And looking at last year's information is valid, but looking prior to that is not as valid because we don't run the hospital the same way. We don't have as many employees, you know, all those things. So.
And the audit reports tonight at 6.
Yes, sir.
You can never be square.
There will be going concern comment in there again, as there was last year, which is that the auditors are not sure, based on the financial information, that the facility will last a year. It's highly irregular to have it in there just for 1 year, because it always takes a while to get a facility turned around. So it's expected to be in there this year, and it is in there, will be in this year. And they'll answer all the questions. And we have hired a finance director, Mackenzie Hudson, who lives in Stafford. She works for me at PRMC. She applied for the job and I gave it to her, so I'm not happy with him. But I'm happy with him on one side and not happy with him on the other side. She works for me at PRMC. I don't want to lose her. She's a really good employee. So I'm not happy that she left.
I don't like her because she was military trained,
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Those are the numbers. I don't know what to tell you. We do not have to give a 3% increase to employees. We can give a 2% increase. We can give a 1% increase. We don't have to give any increase. They have not had one for, I think we're on 4 or 5 years, 4 years.
Why do you have a benefit increase too? Your costs are going up?
No,
Benefits?
they're proportional to salaries
I see.
for tax purposes. Probably the overall benefits wouldn't go up quite 3%, but it's difficult to tell. And some of it's based on the employees that take the insurance.
Why are professional fees going up so much?
I just did a flat 3% across the board. When you have no history, it's better to be conservative. So I've made everything go up by 3%. Healthcare CPI is on the 4.5% increase.
You know, the frustrating part about this, it's all on projections,
Yep.
estimates, and who has a better crystal ball.
Right. And mine is conservative. It's always is very conservative as a finance person. Worst case scenario kind of thing, especially on expenses.
And the thing of it is, we're striving to get people healthy, and
Right.
so and so, but yet we need them sick to come into the hospital.
Right.
It's just, it's just wrong.
Yep. The only thing that's in here, that at least I do not think we spent any money on in 2012 so far, is minor equipment. We put $15,000 in minor equipment, which is usually less than cost, something of long-term value that costs less than $5,000. And there is zero money in here for capital outlay. So if the air conditioner breaks, there's no money in the budget for anything like that. I don't know the process for those kinds of things when it's a county facility. I know how our facility works, but we have a county hospital board, and it's all directed through tax money and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't put anything in here for that. That won't happen, but. You seem not happy.
He's always this way, but it's
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's okay.
It's not me.
No.
Yes, it
It's just
You
budget.
It's not a pleasant time.
I totally
It's
understand that.
not pleasant at all.
More with less, more with less.
Yeah, I guess the thing that's concerning me is what you just brought up. I'm looking at this and you actually lowered maintenance cost, that, which is where the things that you're talking about come out of.
Right. And it's solely based on the first 4 months of this year.
Well, you got actual of 2011, and then you've got a pretty good history there with the hospital. That doesn't affect it tremendously by patient load.
No.
So when you hit your 30,000 under what you were, I don't know how realistic that is. It's an aging building. It's
Right.
that concerns me when I see that.
So you think we need to increase it?
Well, she's telling us how conservative she's being, and now look at that and go, that's not being conservative, that's the opposite. That's
My guess would
entirely
be is
optimistic.
that it's the rest of the expenses may or may not be as high as 3%. There's always a
I
shift.
understand what you're saying. It moves around.
Right. I could change it and increase it.
No.
Well, I can increase that line item if you want.
Well, fine, if you take it out of something else.
Do that.
But like you said, it's just robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
Who knows, it's a guess, I understand that. I'm just trying to understand your guess.
Okay.
I do think that it is an aging building, but we replaced the chiller and the boiler and some of those major items,
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
so that's helpful, but you never know what's going to happen either.
No.
You're talking to a farmer here, so you never know what's going to happen, right?
Well, I can pretty well guarantee you something's gonna happen, it's just what, and when, where. And that's always more than it should be.
Absolutely.
You're wanting 600,000 even or 621,994?
600,000.
Okay.
Oh, it's so much better than it's been last week.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
This thing last week, you were home in bed.
Half days, yeah.
Well, a good facility, you could get a few days rest and maybe
Right.
take care.
Be okay. I didn't have a couple jobs that I was working on.
I don't have anything else to do.
Nope, just have to see what we can do.
Will we see you boys
Bottom line,
tonight?
what's up to that? How much we can afford.
What's for dinner?
I don't know.
Food.
What's on the-
Are you gonna make it?
We'd like to have you guys.
Close.
Make it tonight.
I don't know.
Depending on what's on the menu.
Chicken.
If it's chicken.
Probably chicken, it usually is.
Can you put a request in to not have chicken? So he'll show up.
I'd love to come, but I don't think it's gonna make it.
You just don't want to listen to the auditor, I
That's not true, I love listening to
know.
auditors.
Liar. Nobody likes listening to auditors.
Auditors and lawyers, I'm ready for that. It's-
No, we would love to have anybody that can make it.
Guys, it's gonna be 100 degrees today, so.
You're having fun, come on. Dude, it's hot out.
Oh, yeah, I can go inside when it's warm. Yeah, they're all good.
Yeah. It's good. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Well, thanks for the news.
Sorry. You're quit asking me to come up and see
Put
you.
it in the file. Thanks.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Hope you feel better.
Thanks. I'm about 100% better than I was last week, so at least I'm breathing
Glad it
upright.
wasn't last week when we presented.
Yeah. Sorry. Bye. Be good.
That's at 5:30.
Anybody out there?
No, nobody's out there.
Not until
We're
nine.
way ahead of time. Okay, let's recess.
Okay. We have, I'll let you get that budget before I tell you that that budget's wrong and give you another budget. No, they need the
Oh, okay.
information, so
Okay.
it's just the budget that's changed, okay? We are here, you have given us $19,096 for a long time. I can't remember how long ago it was before it was changed, and we're asking for you to continue at the same level next year. On page 2 of our presentation, you can see our history of when we, the last 5 years of when we've lost money and when we've made money. Right now we're doing okay. We've had some pretty tough years beyond that, but it seems to have straightened out. But we have some very questionable things coming up in our future, one being the CanCare, because about 70%, over 70% of our money comes from Medicaid, and the governor's CanCare program puts all of Medicaid into a program that's divided among 3 managed care companies. And so it basically triples our administrative costs to bill and work with 3 different companies instead of working with 1. And then the tax cut that the legislature just passed is quite a threat to us in the sense that if they hit the $1 billion mark in deficits, we'll lose half of the money from the state. So we're concerned about that. On page 3 is something we've never presented before. we've been doing a lot of work statewide with a national company to determine the cost of services. All the mental health centers have been doing this to try to understand the cost per hour for delivering services. Now what we're showing you here is the outpatient services only. The cost of a master's degree clinician is $91 an hour. The cost of an ARP nurse practitioner, $137 an hour. And the cost of the MD is $265. Now that's all the cost, salary, indirect cost, their share of the overhead, everything from the repairing the roof down to the opportunity cost of having someone not show up for an appointment. So those are pretty comprehensive calculations. And we then took the number of hours of service from Stafford County times those costs to show you how much it costs to provide those services, and then the reimbursement from people from the charges we've made to those people. And that brings down a net profit or loss, and you can see that the total is $12,000. That's what we have lost in providing that service. Well, we then put in the emergency because we were available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we had 28 hours of those types of services. So that brings the cost of the emergency service less the reimbursement adds another $1,000. And so then the total cost to Stafford County for Stafford County services for outpatient services only is $13,799, and you see you're paying $19,000. So we have a capacity of $5,000 to increase services here that to still be within our cost. We have some challenges in that. One is a lot of our services deal with commitments and those kinds of things, and you may be aware there's some challenges in working with the county attorney. We have your SRS office is out of Pratt, so we don't get as many referrals through them as we do in the Barton County area. Things in the schools have improved. We weren't in the schools as much, but that's working much better. So we're hopeful in the next time we come and present this, we'll be showing that we are using all the money. You're the only county that turned out this way. I really debated whether I wanted to show you this, but it seemed only fair to do
Well,
that.
at least that's a little encouraging.
Then we got a refund.
Yeah. In the other counties, we're in the deficit, so we're having to use state money to cover that deficit. And that's okay, because that's what the state money originally was intended for, but that's assuming they don't cut the state money with the new tax reduction plan. So if you move on over to the actual budget, the only changes from what we sent you were in some line items. We actually received some state money that we weren't expecting after we mailed the budget out. The mental health reform money that started back in 1994 had reached $30 million statewide, and it was cut $20 million by the last 4 years. And so this year, when the legislature was looking at an $800 million surplus, they restored $5 million of that money. And we didn't know what we would get. The Association of Community Mental Health Centers we were in agreement that we would restore that money the way it was cut. And it was only after we started looking at the restoration that we figured out that it was cut two different ways. And the first $10 million was cut based on your Medicaid income because you were supposed to make it up through Medicaid. Second $10 million was based on your share of the money that you were getting. So we ended up averaging the two, and we got $130,000, which helped us cover the grant, cover our budget expenses. Now, you may wonder, if you got $130,000, why did you not end up with a surplus then? Well, that's because when we went back to start looking at the budget, we discovered that we had some errors in it. Namely, there were we had a couple of line items that were Medicaid related line items, and we had failed to move those into the CanCare Medicaid one line item, which the new plan is supposed to do January 1st, so we were double counting some money is what it amounted to. So we have the $5 million budget. I think that's our largest in the 42 years that I've been there. We sent you our audit. Unfortunate, in the audit, we did experience last year a problem. We had a long-term employee that used the company credit for personal use. So that's all written up in the audit, and she's no longer with us, but we did recover most of the money. And frankly, that's partly a result of the cuts that we've had from the state income. We have reduced administration so much that we just didn't have the checks and balances in place to keep that kind of thing from happening. So we've been addressing that. Other than the budget, I can tell you that we have $123,000 in checking, which is for our operating expenses. We have about $541,000 in a reserve account. 133,000 of that is designated, restricted because of accumulated vacation that we have to cover in our audit. So that leaves us about $400,000 in reserves, and if you divide this $5 million by 12, you'll see that we have less than 1 month's operating expenses in reserves. The challenge that presents is we're a quasi-municipality. We are restricted from borrowing money, so if we want to address our infrastructure needs, we just need to save the money to be able to do it. And we do have some of those. We have 30-year-old carpet and wall covers. We have an 18-year-old phone system that's out of production, and it's going to cost about $75,000 to replace. And she's in charge of 35 cars, and 10 of them are over 100,000 miles. So we do have some issues to address, but we can't afford to spend any of the reserve until this CanCare thing is in place and operational, because in other states where they've tried this, they didn't get paid for 3 to 5 months. And so that reserve is the only thing between us and disaster, since we can't go borrow money, to continue to operate. Then on back is the page 10 shows you your comparison to the other counties in terms of the people we see, the population. That's the most recent census population, the tax support, the percentage of taxes compared to your population. You're pretty well on, just slightly over your population. Originally, when I first started this, everybody paid their population percentage, but we moved away from the years from that approach. And then you can see the per capita, the mill levy equivalent. I know you guys don't have a mill levy for mental health, but that's the equivalent. And then the per capita payment. You can compare that to what that is statewide. I would caution on the per capita mill payment, the 9.41 statewide, down at the bottom right, because that is primarily a result of Johnson County. They they pay an unbelievable amount per capita for that mental health center. I understand they're facing some major cuts even in Johnson County now, so that may change, but it does skew the numbers for the rest. The red programs listed are programs we have cut, as we've lost $1 million in support over the past decade, and those are programs we have eliminated. And when we did them, I may have explained to you last year, even though we have cut them, we left the program descriptions in this program section, simply because someday there'll be a payday. There'll be a, well, what happened? Why isn't mental health working? Why do we have so many people in the state hospital? We want people to understand what we don't do anymore and why, and that it made a difference over time. But our fear is by just leaving them out, we will lose the history of how those services have changed over the years. So those include all the different programs well beyond the outpatient that you saw the numbers on. We have CBS, which Wendy's in charge of for children. We have adult SPMI, severely persistently mentally ill services for the adults. And of course, one of the big expensive areas is in the area of medication. So I think that about covers it. Any questions? Well, one big change over the last couple of years from when we were here before is we've moved into the state health insurance program. We were self-insured, but as the cost of self-insuring approached $1 million, we decided we had to get out of that business, and so we were able, as a community mental health center, go into the state health insurance plan, and that's worked out very, very well. Are you guys in the state health insurance plan here?
No, we're
No,
not.
it's kind of funny because our hospital was, and it was extremely expensive.
Really?
Extremely expensive.
Well, our experience as self-insured was that we were a very small group, and so,
How many employees do you have?
85.
85 full-time and about another 15 to 20 part-time.
So you're much larger than we are. Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm also on the
It's kind of overwhelming to me to see that your budget is larger than ours by a fair amount.
Well, it started out much smaller. And what's interesting, we are a quasi-municipality, and the definition of that is that we are statutorily able to receive tax monies. Mm-hmm. And Barton County's raising the question, why are we giving money to a business? Well, we're kind of unique in that we were created to get tax money. That's why we were put together in the first place. The only difference between us and, say, a health department is that we're serving multiple counties instead of one county. And in the beginning, the mill levy money paid 90% of the budget. And then over the year, and it was, the design was to be able to provide a mental health service to people who couldn't afford it, who were needing a sliding scale. So the statute we're formed under requires us to provide services regardless of ability to pay. That's something that makes us different from other businesses as well. And initially nobody had insurance to cover the health insurance, the mental health. In fact, I can remember when we had $10 deductible Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the $10 was the average cost of a night in the hospital. And so over the years, as we expanded into different programs, as insurance companies were able to pay, covered some of our services, and then the big difference is the state stepped in. like I'm sure your health department here probably receives a lot more money than what you put into it through the grants and things from the state. Same kind of concept. So that's why we put this graph together to try to demonstrate if we were back in 1968 when it was formed, what would you be expected to pay for? And that's what we were trying to show in that table.
I see you got 24 crisis intervention. That, I see Martin County number R is 338, and that is what instance is that like a screening for psychiatric hospitalization and consultations, other professional things, screening? That's like a school or something you haven't.
The 24 hours, more than likely, your sheriff's deputy calling us in the middle of the night and saying that, you know, we have a person we need evaluated, or it could be during the day someone just shows up in a crisis. It's typically something that could be a person just calls themselves and says, I'm falling apart and I need help. So, but what makes it different is that it has to be attended to immediately. That's our mandate. That's why we have the 24-hour coverage. And no, I can remember an incident down in Stafford County where the deputy called and said, you know, I have this person, I need you to come see him. And we had somebody on call who said, well, look, I'm the only one on call. Can you bring them to CKMC and I'll see them there? And he said, hey, you know, I'm the only deputy, so if I leave Stafford, we don't have any coverage here either. We said, you got that's a valid point. So we came down.
So you go down to
Yeah.
different counties, okay.
And there are occasions where if the kid is really disruptive in school and they say, look, somebody needs to see this kid right away, then we would actually refer them to crisis and get them seen right away.
The screening service you see is very specific. The part of the mental health reform law was that no one could enter a state hospital anywhere in the state without a screen from a community mental health center. And so we do those screens, and then the next step is we either divert them, which is the intent of the screen. We're supposed to try to find some way to keep them from going to the state hospital, provide some alternative services, or if they have to go, we commit them. And that we could get the transportation. The next step is within 24 hours, I think it is, or 48, I can't remember the exact number, they are supposed to have a court hearing for the commitment, and that's where the county attorney isn't very interested in doing that particular kind of service. So then the state hospital doesn't have any choice but just let them go. And but normally they would be committed, they'd be treated, and based on that treatment they'd be referred to us. And hopefully they would, you know, experience an improvement in their situation and want to continue into the service. But if we sometimes just lose them when that commitment process breaks down. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Dwight, you may be aware we have probably 2 that have retired from the board.
Yes, yes.
I've been working very hard at getting some replacements. Part of the problem is me, my knowledge. They ask me what this involves, what,
Okay.
and I can't answer that question very well.
Well, the board is scheduled to meet once a month, and there's rarely any other activity besides that once a month meeting. And the board has kind of evolved over time. In the past, see, the Mental Health Center was originally, the whole system was developed by the Mental Health Association, and people who were very adversarial in getting services and stuff. And so for a lot of times we met because they were just interested in mental health and meeting. over time, it's changed to let's meet when there's something we need to meet about. And so it is not unusual at all for us to meet every other month or something like that. So, but we have an executive committee that can handle things in lieu of the board if the board's not available. And so I would say that 6 to 8 times a year is the most that we meet. It's at 7:30 at night on the second Thursday of each month, and that's
They
the,
asked me what their duties would be and to explain the service you guys even provide, and that's where I really. What I'm thinking here is that maybe I would have you contact them and let them answer. You answer
Sure,
the questions?
sure.
That'd be okay.
we'd be glad to. And their role is as a policy board. We present what the issues are that, and are we going to raise rates, or are we going to do whatever, the decision that they make. They're not, it is not our expectation they have some expertise in mental health.
Well, that's the first thing they think
Yeah.
of. Am I gonna have to help counsel these people?
Yeah.
Not at all.
It would.
Try and answer that no, but then
Yeah.
I'm like,
It would be like being on the library board or any other board that you serve on, where your input as a citizen and your representation for Stafford County. That's an important role. What's in the interest of Stafford County in terms of our programming and work, so that, because you're putting in the money, and I've rarely asked questions about the line items in the budget. I'm assuming it's because the commissioners believe their board members, are working on that and following that. So that's what it is. We'd be glad to talk to anyone who would.
I'll try one more time, and if I don't have any luck, I'm not getting no's, I'm just not getting answers.
Sure.
It is more related to policy, because I will send out a week ahead of time the minutes from the previous meeting, our statements of payables and payroll, and they're just up to date on those kinds of things. If we need cars, then they're approving them. If, like Dwight said, if it's a policy change, then they decide whether that's in the best interest of the county they represent, and will vote via the internet.
Our policies actually call for board approval for any purchase over $2,000, so they are active in the budget operations.
Okay. If I have to need some help, I guess I'll just call and talk to you, or who should I ask?
Either one of us could answer it. So let me just give you this. Or if you just wanted to ask them to call me directly, we'd be glad to talk to anyone that had an interest. So, all right. Thank you. Gracie has been great on the board. She's.
Can you convince her to stay on?
Well, she hasn't talked about leaving, so she said she was a long time talking to her getting on it.
Yes,
So
about a year.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a tough sell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Who's that one? Anybody else out there?
Yep, all right.
That's Reese's.
I don't know, you have to walk me through I got a couple of briefs on you. You got one for you too? I'm pretty much just going with last year's budget. But so far, this, from what I've seen for the first 5 months, I think that's just fine, with the exception of, I've added on for uniforms. And $1,000 for capital outlay for a wet dry back, specifically for the stripping floors, something that'd be a little better.
What do you
than
use
I
now?
have. I have a wet dry back.
Good one.
Yeah, one that I use, but it's doesn't pick up very well. And, one that's made for it actually has a scrubber built in.
Oh, it does?
You'll use that. Yeah, it'll expedite matters a lot, because it takes me right now, those sections I've done, about 6 hours just to strip.
But
It's just tedious.
I would think that'd be a wise purchase, so.
I thought we were gonna get him uniforms.
We did.
We did,
But
but it
we have
wasn't
to
on
pay
the
for it.
last budget.
Yeah, we did, we're kind of
catching up.
Yeah, so we made a specific line item for it.
Sure.
But no, he's pretty uniform.
Doesn't have his name on
I was disappointed too.
None of us wear names.
it.
Get in, get in.
Sure, sure.
None of us wear names.
So many people going, hey you, hey you.
Get a badge.
So you checked in these, that's not what they cost for those kids.
Yeah. With the scrubber, I found them about $700, $799, just right at $1,000 is what I'm looking at.
Beat up stuff pretty quite a bunch of them.
I don't recall the name of the company. But, Todd Taylor could get you the name of the waxes and strippers that they use. And they come in like 5-gallon, like they're cardboard, plastic line with a dispenser on it.
For stripper?
For stripper as well as the wax, and they have, I don't know how many grades of wax.
Yeah. But
And-
UNC, they have their pamphlet shows all kinds of grades of wax. Not real happy with the wax that I'm using,
Well-
but I'd rather use it up,
Yeah,
just we've already paid for it than what we have. I have found a really good stripper through Sage, their bare bones product is a really good one. But I'll check the price on the other one, with Todd Taylor, you said?
yeah. And it's a janitorial supply, but, I mean, the representative will even, if you're wanting to strip floors, he'll even come out. Well, they'll get you started.
Really?
Yeah, the guy from Sage offered to come out, Sam, he offered to come out and help me too, but that didn't
Yeah,
work out.
well, but this guy did. But then there was something about, of course, you have to buy these pads for the buffer, because there's one boar's hide or hair that heats the wax up and makes it,
Yeah, that's for burnishing, but
Yeah.
that's a high-speed machine. We
Oh,
don't
is
have
it?
one. Yeah, we have a low-speed machine, so you can't burnish with. But I
Okay.
can buff them, which is similar, but you use a product to loosen the glue up instead of
Yeah,
instead of the speed of the machine. So I just go around buffing them with that, which I've never thought very much of, but I do it anyway. I think there are better ways to put a shine on the board. But since that's what we have to use, with
Yeah.
another, a burnishing, a high-speed machine would probably cost about $2,000.
yeah.
So,
But they do all the hospital floors, I mean, even Hutch Hospital. And there's a lot of traffic, and man, I tell you what, this wax is good. And then every once in a while they'll go in and burnish it.
right.
But then when it comes time to stripping,
Yeah, nobody shows up. They do have this vacuum, does make a big difference,
Yeah.
because it will scrub and pull up at the same
right,
time.
right.
And the one we have, I have to vacuum, and then I have to go clean it again, because it doesn't pull everything out. So an extra step, and I have to wait for it to drive it. I just did the landing downstairs Saturday, and it's 6 hours just to clean that little area, and I was like, this is ridiculous. But that's also the worst area. I don't know, 6, 7 coats of wax on that down there, it was just horrible.
So, well, it's certainly looking nice around there, appreciate what you've done.
So how are you overall, since we have you here? Do you have any questions or concerns or issues you'd like to bring up? Are these people abusing you at all? Looking at Lisa.
They try, but they don't know.
They
what the
try.
word means. They think it's abuse and that's their problem.
Good, sounds good. All right.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, I talked to him, and since he used to be in that type, Todd,
All right. See what kind of material he's using.
yeah,
That'd
and
be
it's,
good.
and like I say, I don't remember the name. All I can remember is the wax come in dispensers, as opposed to cans, and when you open up a 5-gallon can, then, but these, they didn't dry out. Just a neat product. Packaging as
High
well.
shine, high,
Yeah, you'll get all
that's what I'm
time.
looking for. Because the one we're using now, the mainstay, is just not a high
Yeah.
gloss thing. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That's not
Carolyn.
out there, is it?
No.
Go.
Jeff, he's in the clerk's office. Are you looking for Jeff?
Yeah, talk to him, 10:15.
He's got an appointment at 10:15. We
I'm
got an opening here.
Okay.
I came in a couple weeks ago to tell you about the trip that we're planning to Atwood. Plans are proceeding with that, and we're filling up, but I wanted to check back and see if there was, actually, I did get from you through the chamber that you are interested in going. So I have emailed the, there's either any interest from you directly or any nominations that you have from, your district, whatever. We're filling up, but there's still some room, so.
There's 3 or 4 people signed up the other night.
Yeah, from the chamber.
Yes.
Ice cream social, I
Yes.
have 5 from that evening.
And it's a 40-passenger bus?
Mhm. We're at about 28
Who you got from my area? My district?
from your district. Shelley Evans, Terry Renfro, that's it as far as confirmed. I have a couple of others that are possibilities. They're still on that tentative list, but Mike and Kathy Harvey, maybe. Talking with Candy Bright. Those are, oh, Jody Suter. Jody's actually likely. So, more west than north. As far as
You
your
got room
district
for
goes.
another 12. I'll see what.
Okay,
Leave at 7:30 and get back at 8.
7:15.
7:15, get back by 8.
Right.
That's a road trip.
It's only 45 minutes. Oh, no. That's a road trip.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Am I okay with budget?
I don't know.
I'm operating under the assumption that 1 mil will continue. Is there
Does she
anything
need
that I
to
need
submit a
to
budget?
do?
So you get a mill.
You get a mill.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't talked about changing that at all. I don't think there's any inclination for it. That's what you're asking.
No, well, unless there's, I'm really asking more in terms of, do you need certain documentation from me or? Okay,
That it?
that's it for me. Do
Okay.
you have something?
Yes. Cell coverage up in the northern part of the county. Do you have any data on who is the providers and where the towers are at? And
No, I don't.
is there any way we can with the KCC or the FCC or, I don't know where to
Yeah,
go, I'm asking.
Right, and I would have to do research, I don't know either on.
And the problem is the K-19 extension that half of it runs through Clavera.
Right,
From that intersection at 281 and 19 all the way, and I don't know how far east, there is no signal. And it's not that I want to be making phone calls up there, but I think as far as,
I don't know how far east it goes. I know to Stafford, Elmwood, Blacktop, it's dead to there, because we farm right there, and it's dead.
and it's not that, I want to have the service, I'm concerned about public safety. And there's a couple of incidents, even Roger can attest to, that he had a flat tire by the artesian well. And
I always have a flat tire.
Yeah.
It's always where it happens.
And our minister
water.
was on the way to Alden. And,
God.
yeah,
Sit there and played with the turtles for an hour.
And she was on her way to Alden and had a mishap and couldn't make a call. And it's just, and if these people are, thinking that people are be running up and down the scenic byway and so on and so forth, then their security blanket is not there. So, and I don't know where to start. Only I started by checking my phone Sunday morning from the migrant mile all the way over to 281, and it was flatline. So I don't know. And there are towers around, but I don't know what kind of towers they are. We were discussing that one south of 19 on 281, off in the field there someplace.
Right around Henry's, it's an old railroad tower. Railroad originally put it up there. It's off the highway, half a mile. And just-
Near, off of 281 highway.
It's off of 281, a half a mile, and it's south of K-19.
It's a railroad tower?
Originally, yeah, railroad put their own microwaves. Along the railroad track.
I thought it was probably a pipeline tower or something.
It's for the railroad. And it isn't that old of a tower. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny that they shut the railroad down. That's
I wonder
the
if it's still, if it's on the, is it on the utility tax roll?
Most of those cell towers are.
Or not? I didn't know if they were assessed or.
But originally the railroad owned it, and I know that it's still operated. I mean, there's still people out there. You could probably find out who actually owns it now by looking at your tax rolls. Well, I know that Ronnie leased it to him for a period of number of years, so that lease is still intact. So it's got to be off somewhere.
Right next door to Register of Deeds, it should be.
Yeah, well, anyway, this is something that
Okay.
I don't want on the back burner, but I really don't want it on the front burner, but we need to do some homework to find out what we're talking about first, and then.
When are you going to Colby?
Atwood.
On June 28th, a week from Thursday.
Where's that one at?
North of Colby.
That's our
We have to stop by and see my granddaughter.
Yeah, way up there.
Roger.
Where's Colby at?
Straight
It's right
below.
below it, it's right below it, gotcha. Okay.
It's, Allison told me it was 3 hours from Stafford to Colby.
That's optimistic.
Yeah, MapQuest tells us 4, so I've been planning for 4.
Of course, I think she's a stealth. She flies under the radar, but anyway, she left yesterday afternoon, and 3 hours later, she called and said, I made it.
Well, then Colby is another half hour, probably south of Atwood.
Yeah.
So I think 4 hours on a bus probably is a reasonable estimate. I don't know.
You'll
Right,
have to
bus
stop
can't go
and,
85 miles.
What?
you'll have to stop somewhere.
Yeah, no, we've got a bathroom break at Quinter.
Mr. Jeff said.
And the travel's Quinter. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
They're Jeffries, but.
He's outside, he lives out
2 pages.
there. He's next door there. Plugged in.
He's in the register.
Yeah.
Here. Morning. Morning. Have a seat.
You're getting copies.
I told you I would.
Burning up some.
Yeah.
You didn't change it from what you gave me, did you?
No.
So how's the remodeling going?
Waiting on Abby's.
And what's their problem?
Well, they
They don't
had,
want business?
well, at first they said they had someone that got sick that does the carpet, and later when I talked to them, they said that found out he had cancer. And I talked to him last week one time, and they said they'd get a hold of me first this week and see if they could start again, so. I'm assuming they had to hire someone else. So that's the holdup.
That's been a long process, hasn't it, just getting carpet?
Yeah,
What's 6 months?
but we've been painting in the dispatch area. Hopefully they'll get a hold of me today or tomorrow.
Yeah. Like you have this thing ramped up by the 1st of July.
Maybe. Everything's
So are you in your offices now?
Rob and I are, and the trooper,
Right.
but we gotta wait on the others for.
Yeah, I walked back in there the other day and all the doors were locked.
Hmm.
So I couldn't see anything but the hallway.
Yeah, we got the booking room moved in there last week, so everything's out
Now, is
of.
the trooper's office, it's to the back, the booking room is the one with the window.
Right.
So the trooper's office is back, yeah.
Yeah, he seems to be happy with it. I mean, he's finally got his own space, so he doesn't have to.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's not in there that often.
Really. But
Okay.
it's still gonna be a major hassle when they do come with that carpet. Because we'll have to move just a temporary dispatch deal into my old office while they lay the carpet out there. And the good thing is, Great Bend, where we bought the new console deal, they said they'd come up and help us set it up.
Oh, good.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, yeah.
Like a jigsaw puzzle put together.
Exactly.
There's a million pieces.
Oh, there's a lot.
Aren't there?
Yeah, but they said they'd come help us, so
That's great.
that'll be real good. I want to go over some of this with you. The two main concerns I have, obviously last year was the worst year I've had. Of course, the prisoner, last year we arrested more people and they sent more people to jail than they ever have, which, you know, I have no idea from year to year what, yeah. But that, when that happens, and we keep prisoners mainly in Pratt and Barton, and if they're long-term, we go to Greensburg because it's cheaper. Well, and it's happened some this year, not quite as much as last year, but they'll have court and they'll want 5 prisoners at the same time. Well, 2 of them may be in Great Bend, 2 in Pratt, and 1 at Larned State Hospital, or 1 at Greensburg. Well, there's only 4 of us, and 1 of us got to stay here. So someone's off, and I have to call them out, and the overtime ate me up last year. And in years past, I was always able to utilize the off-duty officers from St. John or Maxville or Stafford. Well, last year, Maxville was short on help some. St. John and Stafford were the whole year, so I could never utilize them. But, of course, St. John's still short. Stafford was up until about a week ago. Now they're short again. But hopefully I'll be able to utilize them. But I just increased it mainly because of the overtime. And on the dispatchers, that's something else, when we're done with the budget, I need to talk to you about. I lost my part-time dispatcher 3-4 months ago. She went to Humble Pie to manage it. And I haven't rehired yet, but it's a lot cheaper for me to use part-time than it is my full-time people, because they're, all of them at 2 are clear up on they're scaled out. I mean, so when I use them, the overtime's a lot more than what I pay part-time. So I am looking at hiring someone there, and I'll visit with you about that after we're done with the budget. And the insurance, where it's increased, that's obviously just because the rates went up, so. And the meeting and travel expense, we've always, the officers have always had to have 40 hours a year, all of them. But now, it's got to the point where dispatchers have to have, they're mandated to have training as well. And we're actually, up until about 4 or 5 years ago, we had to have so many hours of firearms and so many hours of like EMS related first aid. But now, we have to have racial profiling, we have to have stalking, we have to have hazmat. I mean, they've just mandated more things, and we used to just go to school at Great Bend or have someone come here and train us. That's almost obsolete now. If you want to get training, about as close as you're going to get is Hutch. I mean, a lot of it's Wichita, Topeka, so it's just increased spending to get everybody trained, so that's why I raised it. And everything else pretty self-explanatory, just like car expense. And that's not fuel, but tires are higher, oil changes are higher, so.
You don't need tires?
Oh, yeah.
We have 0.
He takes it out of car expense down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So why do we still have that line?
And I didn't change the juvenile budget. We obviously this year haven't used any of it yet, but again, that's one of those deals for
I see that.
the year. I have no idea.
I've seen one in there, there's one in there for,
Oh, did we?
yeah, there's one in there for, I see it today.
Okay.
4 days, it was like $140 a while.
First one.
That's a good place to try to stay away from, isn't it?
Yeah. And now, for the part-time dispatch position, I'd like to go in executive session and discuss non-elected personnel for 5 minutes.
Is that enough? Okay, I make a motion, we'll go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel for 5 minutes.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded, we go into executive session. Non-elected personnel for 5 minutes, all in favor?
Aye. Okay, back to Jim.
Yeah. So you want sealed bids taken from tender? Yeah, I'll get that advertised.
I mean, we don't have a choice.
What's your thoughts on it?
I think we can set a price and sell it if we wanted, we don't have to have
Oh,
sealed bids.
well, whatever.
But sealed bids are just the fairest, I think. That's everybody participating. Doesn't, you know,
Well, because if you set $500 on it, you have 15 people say I want it.
we want it, right? I think it's the easiest and simplest, fairest way to do it.
I mean, unless there's another entity that wanted it, then I suppose you could say we want.
Another entity within our,
Within
but I
the
haven't heard
county.
anybody. The county,
Well, I don't know what
City
Doug's
staff
want,
or
yeah, I don't know if it's for the city or if it's just for Doug. I mean, he just asked me about it, I can find out, because I agree if it's a city.
If it's a entity,
like the city.
I would think
Could
you
do
should
something.
say, yeah, for, I don't know what the price would be.
But otherwise, I think just don't seal bids probably best way.
Yeah.
Fair.
So if it's the city, find out, and
I will.
we could just come up with a price.
Okay. I'll do that.
If it's not, then let's just put an ad in and take sealed bids on it.
Sold as is.
Yeah.
The other's up and running, works
Right.
good. So the other up and running and works well.
Yep.
Checked it out, no.
So far, get better.
Hopefully those fires.
Have you ever had, has the power gone off somewhere? Sure didn't take them long to get it hooked up.
Yeah.
But isn't it on a, doesn't it have to be run once a month?
Not this one.
It doesn't?
I mean, we've checked it, but.
Yeah.
But, no, this one's I mean, it's just automatic if the juice goes off, and they said we don't have to run it once a month. So,
Modern technology.
isn't that nice?
Is on
When
generators.
it works, yeah.
Yeah, when it works.
And you used to think 5 years, but you still gotta crank it up once a month, just keep the brushes and everything.
Right. Well, supposedly this one we don't, so. And our pickup still isn't in at Marty's.
I wondered about that the other day.
Oh, we called them too, I don't know what.
He was telling me you lied.
No, we're not having any luck. And of course, now Rob's vehicle we've worked on twice in the last month. And then he blew a tire yesterday.
So they just wait for you to get it fixed up.
I think that's what they're doing, yeah. All right, thank you.
All right.
I see nothing, that's,
I think we're done. We got to finish the checks.
I did not expect.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were done. Okay, cool. Yep, good.
Anything else? Dave?
No, so, but there's, do this after we adjourn.
All right, let's adjourn.